Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back. And on this episode, I wanted to talk about the secret to success that you can learn from a neighborhood garbage can. Now, let me not hold out the drama too long here, but I was out walking. It was garbage day in our neighborhood. And, there's different names on each garbage can for all the companies. And one of the companies is Waste Management. And when I saw that, I was out walking Rosie the dog. And when I saw that, I immediately had this vibe of fun and enjoyment and kind of warmth. And I don't normally look at my neighbor's garbage cans and think that, right? There's all these different brand names of garbage companies around. But Waste Management, if you're not familiar with this company, they sponsor an event called the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, Arizona, a golf tournament on the PGA Pro Golf Circuit. And the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, it's been called other names, it's had other sponsors, but right now it's called the Waste Management Open. It's just crazy. It's like the Happy Gilmore of golf tournaments. It's really rowdy and loud, and they have rock bands, and there's people partying in the stands, and they have this one hole, I think the 16th hole, where like people are cheering while they're hitting the ball and throwing, drinks in the air if they get a hole in one, and just real rowdy and fun. And the whole point of this is Waste Management realized, hey, personal branding. We can take what nobody thinks is fun and what nobody thinks is enjoyable, which is sanitation and garbage collection, and attach our brand name to fun, to enjoyment, to enthusiasm, to entertainment through this event. And that's why you see companies for decades and decades and decades sponsoring certain events or rock concerts or teams or, personal brands. Obviously, we're living through the era of the personal influencer on all these social networks. And it just got me thinking about how important it is for you and I to put our personal brand out there on LinkedIn. So another great example of that, actually, I'm looking for a Entreport consultant. Entreport is a CRM. I've used it for years. And I'm trying to hire somebody to help me with some Entreport stuff that's like more technical and high level. And I'm not like a tech wizard with the Entreport tool. And I was going through Entreport's, they have like a certified list of, experts. And then each person has like a website page, a landing page. And the guy I ended up picking and reaching out to first was a guy that had a picture of him and his kid on his landing page and personal information. Hey, I'm a dad. Here's my kid. This is what I love to do in my spare time. And yes, he had all the accolades of, certifications and Entreport, this and that and that. But it just felt like my kind of person. Like, oh, okay, he's a dad. He's got kids. He's passionate about that. Like you can tell he's smiling in the photo. It just set him apart from a lot of the other website pages, which were very corporate and boring and, just kind of a bunch of numbers and, jargon and corporate speak. And I was like, I want somebody that I would feel like I connect with and vibe with. And that's what my business coach, he calls it like your vibe check. Like people, whether you're working with a company or an individual, a consultant, a coach, whatever, people are going to try to connect with you at a personal level. We can't help it. As human beings, we're wired to want to connect, to want to be relational to our core. So if you're not putting some of that into your personal brand online, especially on a stuffy, kind of stiff corporate platform like LinkedIn, if you're not putting out some personal branding, people are going to have a really hard time differentiating you. So what I mean by this is if you just blend in with everyone else because you're stiff and corporate and formal, then people aren't going to really find a connection point with you. A couple examples of this. So when I was quitting my day job back in 2012, I was buying all kinds of marketing books and trying to figure out if I'm going to launch my own marketing agency, I want to know more about marketing. And I know I need a business coach, but I don't know who to hire. And, I bought a book called Brand Against the Machine just because I liked the title and it sounded rebellious and it had a cool cover. And I love the rock band Rage Against the Machine. I bought this book, Brand Against the Machine by John Michael Morgan. And as I read the book, it had tons of great tips on marketing and branding. But more importantly, I really got to know John Michael Morgan, the author. Like he just told a ton of great stories. He had a great sense of humor. He was real authentic and transparent. And by the end of the book, I thought two things. One is this guy's a genius when it comes to marketing and branding. Also, I'd love to have a beer with him. I'd love to hang out with him. I'd love to be friends with him. Like he's my kind of people, right? So I ended up hiring John on the spot as my coach. I basically emailed him and was like, please take my money. Can I pay you? What will you charge me? And I have had him ever since as my coach. And it was because he put so much of his personality into his content. Another example, I do this all the time with my content where you're going to see me being a goofball, wearing Zubaz pants, popcorn bucket on my head, publishing photos on LinkedIn that are, just me with my kids or Rosie the dog. And I'm doing it because I want people to know I'm a real human. I'm relatable. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm a goofball. I have the worst fashion sense on the planet. I'm an unabashed Minnesota Vikings fan. So you'll see me wearing Vikings gear and crying after they lose yet again and break our hearts. But all of that goes into connecting. What happens when you put together a really good personal brand, when you put your personality through online with your content, your profile page, and the ways that you do that simply are publishing authentic photos, telling personal stories, sharing something, about your kids or your passion or your family or something away from work, not all the time and not making LinkedIn, Facebook, but figuring out how to take a personal story and then tie it to a business lesson is a great way to create content for LinkedIn. Personal story plus business lesson equals the content. And I've shared examples about that before, but one simple one that I talk about all the time is when we were moving homes, I had to go to the garbage dump. We had all this excess garbage and I had to load up the minivan, the family minivan at the time, drive to the garbage dump. Of course, I picked the hottest day of the entire summer. It was like 95 degrees and 100% humidity. And I drove into this just stinky, festering garbage dump, which of course smells, and it I guess ties into the beginning of this episode with waste management. I was not thinking of anything happy and fun then. But I remember just suffering, right? Unloading the car, like covering my face with my t-shirt. It smelled so bad. It was so hot. I'm pouring sweat. And I was driving home. I thought, well, what can I do with this? And I thought, oh, there's content in this. There's got to be content in this story. And I started thinking, garbage dump, smelly, stinking, awful, bad, miserable. And I was like, oh, stinking thinking, mindset. Okay, because I'm a big mindset guy and a big believer in, income improvement follows self-improvement and you can't outperform your self-image. And I've had in my own life the experience where once I really figured out my mindset, I literally tripled my revenue in 1 month. I literally in 1 month tripled the amount of money I was making. And I was looking back at the numbers today and it's basically carried through. I tripled my yearly revenue as well ever since I read the book Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz and fixed my mindset. So there's a little recommendation there. But I was like, oh, that could be a good story. So I ended up publishing a post on LinkedIn about, using the personal story at the beginning, going to the garbage dump. I probably even published a picture of the smelly dump and then told a story. It's a lot like, sometimes you can have a garbage dump in your mind, right? It can be really smelly thoughts and negative thinking and negative self-talk, and all those things can hold you back from achieving your goals. And if you don't clean out your thoughts, it smells bad, right? Zig Ziglar, I think, said that. He's like, working on your mindset's like showering. You got to do it every day. Otherwise things start to smell really bad in there. And it's true. So again, that's an example of a personal story with a business lesson that can be really good content for LinkedIn. And you have these stories every single day. Going back to the whole beginning point of this episode, associating your brand with an emotion or a vibe or a feeling is where you want to be. So waste management, the garbage company, sanitation, they're intentionally, by sponsoring this super fun golf event, is trying to say, hey, we're, associate our name with fun, enthusiasm, entertainment. And even though I don't use them, I walked by and looked at their garbage can and the name, and I had a good warm feeling because I thought of that tournament and I thought of how funny it is. And it was a brand vibe where, yeah, if it came down to really caring about a sanitation company that I wanted to have fun with, I'd probably choose waste management. It doesn't matter because it's just a commodity and it's not really a personal branding thing. But you can see just an example sometimes outside looking in at other places how it works. For me, obviously, I'm trying to put out a personal brand that's fun, enthusiastic, authentic, transparent. I'm a goofball. You're allowed to have fun while you build your business and make sales. And that attracts a certain type of client to Nemo Media Group, to our done-for-you LinkedIn lead gen services. People who know, hey, you have a good vibe, you're fun, we're going to be able to laugh a lot, we're serious, we want to do really good at business and lead generation, but we're not stiff, boring corporate people, right? We're going to have a lot of fun, we're going to banter, we're going to want to know about your life and have a good time doing it. And I really intentionally try to put that into my personal brand and my content because that's just who I am. I am a goofball, right? I am one of those types of people. So whoever you are, you want to put that through. So if you're an introvert, be an introvert. Share that part of your story. Share that in a post on LinkedIn, and you will attract other introverts who go, this person gets me. I can resonate with them. They're not going to overwhelm me if we do business together. They're not going to want to talk my ear off for 10 straight hours and then go out after. Like, you're going to attract people that like that type of personality. And the beautiful thing is, there's so much business to be had. There's over 1 billion people on LinkedIn. You're not going to run out of leads. You're not going to pigeonhole yourself too much by being authentic, and just putting your personality into your content. What you'll do is you'll attract people who really vibe with you and like you and want to work with you and who'd want to be friends with you. And you'll repel people who'd be a terrible fit. I would be a terrible fit, and my agency would be a terrible fit if you're super serious and stiff and wear a suit and tie and want everything formal and speak in jargon and want spreadsheets delivered every 2 seconds. And there's agencies that do that and love that and court that. That's just not us, right? So I want clients that kind of vibe with us. And the only way you're going to do that is they got to know what you're like when they come in through your content and go, oh, okay, I know what to expect. This is the guy that wears the popcorn bucket on his head or has the goofy pants on or, makes fun of himself. I know coming into this call, it's going to be fun. Like, it's not going to be super serious and formal. So that's just another thought. Really try to be intentional about that. I think especially as we live through AI and kind of this synthetic marketing where anyone now can put in a prompt into AI and say, create 10 LinkedIn lead generation tips and write a blog post. And it'll do a good job and it'll share knowledge. It'll source the whole internet, but there's no personality to it. There's no vibe to it. There's no story to it that is unique to you, the human being who created it. It might invent stories. It might make up stories. It might make up analogies. But at the end of the day, we're never going to lose that piece of human connection. No matter what type of business you're in, we want to feel connected to the person we're going to give our money to. That's why the entrepreneur consultant I reached out to, I felt like, oh, he's a dad. He's got kids. He looks approachable. He doesn't look stiff and formal. He's in a t-shirt. He seems friendly. Okay, I feel safe. My cave person brain feels safe. And like we might have fun working together, as opposed to other sites I looked at that were super stiff and formal and filled with jargon where I would like make my brain hurt. So all of that to say, take action with this. Be intentional. Just look at your own life, your own personality. Make sure you're sprinkling that into your content because it's going to work wonders for you when it comes to generating leads on LinkedIn.